Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate you addressing this issue. I thank each member of the panel for being here today. I would like to just shift discussion briefly to an issue that's, I think, we haven't heard much about today, and that's the waters of the U.S. or the WATUS rule. The EPA has consistently claimed that the WATUS rule would not significantly expand its jurisdiction, but I look upon that claim with some skepticism because of what I'm hearing from my constituents in Arizona. And so I'm asking Mr. Holmstead right now, do you agree with EPA that the waters of the U.S. rule is not a significant expansion of their jurisdiction over waters, and in the case of Arizona, dry wash beds?
No, I think it's pretty clear that the WATUS rule does significantly expand EPA's jurisdiction. What part of their claim is that they've cast a broad net, and then you can come in and somehow be excluded, but that process takes a lot of time and effort. But the jurisdiction that EPA claims is certainly much broader than we've seen before.
Well, it seems to speak to an idea of that perhaps there can be an institutional bias, and I would categorize it as something in line with something like institutional maintenance. And in this instance, it's to regulate, to expand jurisdiction. And I think you've just indicated that you agree with that, perhaps, maybe not that there's a bias, but certainly the rule is. Do you see a bias there?
I think institutionally, EPA, and this is not just EPA, I think this is regulatory agencies at federal and local and state levels, but there is a tendency for them to want to increase their regulatory power, basically because they want to have an opportunity to impose their own will on many of these choices. So I think there's no question that we've seen EPA expand its regulatory power, or at least try to expand its regulatory power over the years.
Many manufacturers have indicated they're going to be impacted by this particular rule, the waters of the U.S. rule. Can you explain what areas of manufacturing that might be impacted by this, and any other anticipated results that we might see of waters being applied to them?
You know, most of the concerns that I've heard have been with regard to not existing manufacturing plants, but people who want to build anything that's new, whether that's a transmission line or a pipeline or a new facility. If it turns out you want to locate whatever you're building in an area that's included within this broad definition, it becomes much, much more difficult to do that.
And so I guess, Mr. Holmstead, to be more direct, we're talking really about permitting issues really become a major problem with this expansive rule.
Yes, that's absolutely right. The fact that you need government approvals and in some cases many different approvals from many different agencies, I think is a shame. It's become very hard to build new things in this country, and I think that kind of permitting reform, not only reforming the WATUS rule, but other permitting programs, to get them to function more efficiently would be a huge step in the right direction.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.